I guess I have to do a double apology because some people asked about Reese. Where's Reese at with Tommy Scoville? Yeah, apologies because the whole Aaron DOA, the arrests, the trials have. I'm trying to be as accurate as possible there, although it's also very confusing. But this is another aspect that I've tried to be careful in terms of giving updates because it's really, really complicated on both sides. So I'll just keep it very short and simple for the new people who may be very confused. So Lindsay is one of Aaron Sullivan's past victims. Lindsay and him were they had a boyfriend girlfriend relationship while Aaron was married. He's still married, and basically Aaron falsely tricked her into believing that Heather and him had an open marriage. Basically, he forced Heather to accept a lot of adultery. This became public. This is actually one of the first things I found out about Aaron that showed me wasn't exactly who he said he was, and I put it back in my file because it was really strange. The Scientology people got a hold of this and used it in their propaganda, and this is true. This is her. So this has been ironically verified by the Scientology people. So Lindsay came out publicly a few years ago, basically affirming that, yeah, Aaron has been lying and misleading people for years and years. And she got attacked by a lot of people in the SBTV movement. I defended her. I still defend her, but she does have, to put it mildly, a very tricky past. There's the politics of the situation. Now, as far as I understand it, she's put distance between herself and Trump and the MAGA movement, but she was very active with the Trump movement, very pro Trump for a while. uh, Want to state very clear for the record, I am not pro-Trump. I'm not deranged anti-Trump because Trump does have a few good positions. I mostly don't like what Trump is up to, but I'm not a big fan of the Trump. So there we are. So that's the politics. There's also people bringing up, which is there, uh, and let me just get brutal and frontal with Marisa because this is one of the things that Dianetics, which is why I don't like her and I don't trust her, immediately tried to use against me. So she was like, "Oh, I'll have you know, this woman you think you're supporting, she has a criminal record." Right. Now, again, and I've criticized Lindsay tons of times for this because she keeps changing her content, keeps privating things, getting rid of things. It's very confusing trying to keep up with her content because she just keeps branding, rebranding, taking away videos. I've criticized her because this creates credibility problems. But anyway, she spoke about that before she went public. So she's been open about her criminal past. There's also some recent criminal cases. I'm just going to be careful there and wait to see what happens. But she's been struggling with some crime issues and addiction issues. Okay, that's her story. So for a while, because I was there in the chat, this is the problem. I can't deny reality. I was there in the chat while Lindsay was there chatting with DOA. And basically, Lindsay is clarifying she's not comfortable supporting DOA anymore. And again, I was hoping to avoid this, honestly, because I keep getting accused of drama. It is what it is. But basically, that Mandy, and I think this is the story, she was modding for Lindsay and helping Lindsay for a while behind the scenes. Again, I don't, it's not my channel, guys. So that's a whole other part of the business. But anyway, so DOA has recently been defending Louis Repetto, who was under severe criticism from many different women in SPTV and out of SPTV. It's a whole mess. I've already done a ton of videos on there. You have to Google those. I would try to construct a playlist to try to catch people up. People have asked for this for Aaron, but it's just listen. Being brutally honest, I am at this point juggling 3 jobs, right? And I'm not joking. I'm so exhausted that I was trying to put out several videos today, and I just fell asleep, and I just got up like an hour ago. So I'm trying to get back to be as productive as possible with this channel and the other channels. But it's just hard because you got 3 jobs, you only have so much time. It is what it is. So basically, Lindsay is not comfortable with the way that Mandy is being treated, and Mandy, I'm pretty sure, was accusing Louis Repetto personally of some things. But Lindsay is telling me in this video to defend Mandy that, oh, Mandy didn't accuse him of anything. So I am beyond confused because I thought that was like a basal point. Like that was just a true fact that Mandy was accusing Luz Repetto of something. I thought that was true. But Lindsay is saying, no, that's not true. She did not formally make any accusation. So I am very, very confused. However, what I'm not confused about is it seems we are trying to have a double standard. Namely, we should defend Mandy because she's being bullied. Okay, there doesn't seem to be a problem there. Although we're back to how is she being bullied? Well, basically, the DOA and a lot of his fans, the DOA fans, are mocking Mandy because of her past and her past issues and saying she lacks credibility and we shouldn't take her seriously. Well, if they're going over the line, I can understand that. But if it's the case where Mandy's just being criticized, I'm a little confused. Like, how is that bullying? Because I get this a lot, and believe me, I've gotten a ton of bullying. Like, there's a difference if you leave comments here, right, and they're insulting. If they're insulting, I'm not sure cognitively why I feel obligated to keep the comments, right? In other words, if you're just commenting to be very, very mean, well, that's not a criticism. I have no issue with critical comments. If you want to criticize the logic of the arguments, or that the receipts are not that strong, or not following why these cases are similar, I understand that part, or the references don't work. If I reference whoever, Chomsky or whoever, say, well, that reference doesn't work, it doesn't say what you say it says, so on and so forth. But if you're just going to say, you're stupid, I don't like you, and just add a lot of curse words, well, that's not a criticism. It's not a criticism. That said, I don't disagree with a lot of what Lindsay's saying in principle, that if DOA is manipulating people, that's bad. That's fine, but Mandy apparently now is getting a lot of support from people who are doing the same thing. Like Selfless Self. Like Selfless Self has a really murky, tricky past, and he's been accused of the same thing, and he's definitely guilty of a few things. For instance, yelling and screaming at kids and the elderly, and making some pretty crazy accusations. But that's okay. That's okay, because he hates DOA now. So we're just getting lost in a big circle where if you hate DOA, don't ask questions. And that's fine. I mean, listen, I'm not stupid. You can read the tea leaves here that a certain part, whatever you want to call it, it's not the anti-Scientology movement, a certain part of this movement just hates DOA. And they just want to hear this moronic, self-affirming propaganda, basically, saying DOA is the devil. That's what they want to hear, right? And that's it. That's all they want to hear. But the problem with that would be, yeah, but propaganda is propaganda is propaganda. And propaganda is propaganda is propaganda. So you're not going to go anywhere, right? If you want to hate DOA, you can do that. But if it's an irrational hatred of him, well, it's irrational hatred. But just to be consistent, right? Because a lot of people are being very naive about this. So Alonso is also defending Luz Repetto, saying, well, he's been the victim of false accusations. That may be the case. That may very well be the case. However, there's a lot of shifty positioning going on here, right? Because Alonso didn't do too much on DOA. But now recently, Alonso's like, DOA is the greatest anti-Scientology protester of all time. I'm not exaggerating. That's literally what Alonso is saying. And I'm like, huh? Well, how's that true? Or why do you think that? And his reasons, to put it mildly, are really, really poor. They're really, really weak. They're really, really weak. So I'm not very convinced by his arguments on behalf of DOA. I'm not saying if you support DOA, you're the devil. I'm just saying that his arguments on behalf of DOA are like, they're kind of weak to me. That's just me. So now Alonso's moving on to defending Luz Repetto. And listen, I'm not stupid. I understand what we're doing here. We're getting a lot of forces allied to attack Aaron. And I don't like Aaron. I think Aaron's a mess. Aaron's a predator. Aaron's definitely a grifter and a manipulator. But really, we're just trying to create an army to attack Aaron. Which, by the way, have at it. I'm not defending Aaron. But it's like, wait, what are we doing here? And the answer is we're just swelling the ranks with propaganda. So now the new propaganda is Lewis is innocent, his accusers are guilty. And the point of this video is, can I just be allowed to think for myself, right? And apparently not. So if Lindsay wants to defend Mandy, that's fine. But I just found it disturbing when she was getting some pushback. She really wasn't answering with good logical arguments. She was just like, well, why are these women defending DOA? Right? Well, that should not be important. Right? I mean, just saying, well, who are you? Are you even in Scientology? Are you a woman? Those are not logical arguments. Right? So we're defending Mandy because, oh, she's a woman and she's being criticized by DOA. So we need to defend Mandy because she's a woman. Like, that makes no sense at all to me. That makes no sense at all. This is a lot like Boss Talks. Why do we believe Boss Talks? We believe Boss Talks because he's black. DOA is white. We'll believe the black man. But there are some pretty impressive receipts that, no, the black man here is lying to you. It doesn't matter that he's black. He's lying, right? At this point, DOA has way more credibility than Boss Talks, right? I mean, the guy can't even get very simple things. Like, he doesn't seem to know how to pronounce Scientology. I think he was pronouncing it Scientology or Scientology or something. I mean, he just couldn't even get what Scientology is right. So it's sort of like, I will expose DOA. I'm exposing DOA now. How? Oh, with some really dumb propaganda. Okay, but listen, I'm open-minded here, but and if Lindsay does not want to support DOA, that's fine, but I'm not clear what is the argument or what is the issue? Because it just seemed to go back to this man is manipulating women. That's bad. Because the obvious logical problem with that would be if a woman manipulates women, that's good. Like Relatable Reese. Relatable Reese manipulates mainly other women. Well, there you go. There's nothing wrong with that. Or Nora. Nora manipulates women. Well, there's nothing wrong with that either. I mean, okay, I guess, but and again, I'm not here to be polemical. I'm not saying that if Trump became a woman, then Lindsay would be very enthusiastic about him, her, or whatever. But I'm like, that doesn't seem like a valid criticism at all, frankly. So, but I will keep listening. But I'm not quite clear what the criticism is. It just feels like she's not comfortable with what DOA is doing. That's fine, but I would like to know what the logical argument is. What is the logical case against him? Because I'm not hearing what the logical case is against DOA. I'm not hearing what the logical case is against him. I'm just hearing like, I am not comfortable with DOA. Okay, but what is the logical argument? I'm not quite clear what the logical argument is.